What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did. People used to treat me like I was nothing, just another face in first class, clad in understated elegance while riding the waves of luxury that had never felt like mine. My name is Serafina, and I thought I could escape the expectations of my billionaire family for just a moment, enjoying a commercial flight. Independence was intoxicating, until the moment I met Carla. Carla's glare felt like ice on my skin as I boarded. "How nice of you to join us," she muttered, her tone slicing through the air as I took my seat. I made a brief call to my dad, hardly an infraction, yet when Carla confronted me, it was as if I'd committed a crime. Her voice rose, filled with righteous indignation, but all I felt was a simmering frustration beneath the weight of her judgment. "You have to follow the rules," she insisted, while passengers exchanged uneasy glances. The humiliation cut deep as I was pulled from my seat, the whispers of the crowd echoing my shame. Stranded in Gander, Canada, I called my dad, and a shift flickered in his voice. He was furious. Suddenly, I was no longer the overlooked girl. I was the daughter of a titan. The wheels of retribution rolled into motion, and fear rippled through the airline as they realized who they had crossed. The aftermath was swift. Carla and her crew were let go without so much as an apology, their lives irreversibly changed. I took a deep breath, letting the air fill my lungs, and let the anger transform into motivation. I opened the Gander Project, a gallery celebrating underrepresented artists. Beneath the scars of that day lay a newfound strength, a reminder that judgment never defines you. You define yourself. Have you ever felt belittled or cast aside? Let's change that narrative together. Excuse me, miss, but you can't use Wi-Fi in here." Carla snapped, her voice sharp, slicing through the soft hum of the jet engines. Serafina, glancing up from her phone, felt her cheeks flush. "I'm just making a quick call to my dad. I'll be done in—" "You've been on for too long," Carla interrupted, arms crossed. "Please don't. Test my patience." Serafina took a deep breath, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'd like to see you tell that to someone else in first class." Carla stepped closer, towering over her with a disapproving glare. "You think just because you're up here, rules don't apply to you?" "Rules?" Serafina replied, incredulous. "Seems more like you've taken it upon yourself to play judge. I'm not breaking any." An entire cabin had now turned, a cacophony of murmurs rising among the passengers. Serafina's heart sank. Carla's threats hung in the air like a storm cloud. "I will have you removed from this flight if you do not comply." Weakest crashed over Serafina like icy water. "You're kidding, right? You can't just kick me off like I'm some nuisance." Carla remained unmoved, her stance rigid. "I'm not kidding, and I won't let your arrogance disrupt this flight." As she was escorted off the plane, hot tears stinging her eyes, the laughter and conversation of first class felt like daggers. Stranded in Gander, Canada, her sense of injustice burned within her. When she finally managed to reach her dad, she poured out the story, each word shaky with rage. "They treated me like I didn't belong," he said, voice calm but thunderous. "I'll handle this." A chilling realization washed over Carla and the crew the next day. Her dad was more than just a businessman. He was a billionaire with connections. The plane hummed softly as Serafina settled into her seat, a serene exterior concealing the tempest of emotions boiling beneath. She took a moment to admire the plush surroundings of first class, starkly contrasting her understated attire, simple jeans and a worn sweater. Her breaths were steady. Today was her choice. A commercial flight, a step away from the gilded cage of her affluent upbringing. She craved independence, longing to be seen for who she was, not just as the billionaire's daughter. From the moment Carla, the flight attendant, approached, Serafina felt the weight of judgment, a dismissive glance, an exaggerated sigh. Carla's posture screamed authority as she scrutinized Serafina's phone when she briefly contacted her dad through the Wi-Fi. The moment felt innocent enough, but Carla's response was swift, sharply outlining the rules as if Serafina were a petulant child. In the word Carla spat simmered Serafina's frustration to a slow boil. When threatened with removal from the flight, the eyes of her fellow passengers darted between them, caught in a surreal tableau of privilege and contempt. Serafina's heart raced as she was led off the plane, humiliation washing over her like ice water. In Gander, Canada, the world seemed to close in. She called her father, each choking breath amplifying the injustice of it all. And then, the shift. His calm voice morphed into icy resolve as he absorbed the details, the realization striking him that his daughter was at the mercy of another's arrogance. The fight within her stirred. She'd had enough. As the airline scrambled to mitigate disaster, a reminder that sometimes the unassuming could turn the tides, Serafina felt the balance shift. Power dynamics rippled and trembled, like the echoes of a storm yet to break. She could feel it, the shift, a quiet rebellion simmering just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. Serafina peered out the window as the plane taxied down the runway, her heart pounding not from excitement but from simmering frustration. She adjusted her simple yet tasteful dress, juxtaposed against the opulence of first class. Just a flight, nothing more, she muttered under her breath, reminding herself of her choice to travel commercially. Independence was worth the discomfort, and she was determined to prove it. Her resolve crumbled when Carla, the flight attendant, approached with a condescending glare. "You know the rules about phone calls," she snapped, arms crossed. Serafina clenched her jaw. We don't need excuses, it's a violation," Carla interrupted, turning away disdainfully. Everything spiraled when Carla escalated the confrontation. "If you can't follow the rules, I'll have to remove you from the flight." The murmurs of the other passengers intensified her humiliation. Serafina's breath quickened as she thought of her father's reputation. They wouldn't see it was her first flight alone, that she was trying to step into her own. Once forced off the plane, her thoughts raced. Seated alone in the terminal, she called her dad, recounting every detail.
"Dad, it wasn't fair. I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered, her voice trembling. He listened, then replied with unexpected firmness, "I'll handle this."
Within hours, word spread through the airline, igniting a panic. Carla and the crew learned the consequences of their actions soon after. They were fired without warning. As they gathered their belongings, Carla's face turned pale, her earlier confidence replaced by fear. Serafina, now ready to reclaim her narrative, began planning the Gander project.
"This is just the beginning,"
she whispered to herself, resolve hardening. Small victories transformed her humiliation into purpose. She focused not on revenge, but on creating a space for underrepresented artists, proving that her journey was only just starting. As the plane taxied to the gate, Serafina felt a mixture of relief and indignation wash over her. She had stood her ground despite Carla's withering glare. The flight attendant's rigid stance and dismissive gestures had been suffocating, a venomous cloud shielding a world of privilege from her own struggles. Being dismissed, she had felt like a ghost in luxury attire. She stepped off the plane, the sound of her heels fading into the disinterested din of the terminal, leaving her behind with the embarrassment of being forcibly removed. In the chilly air of Gander, Canada, she dialed her father, her heart pounding. "Dad, you won't believe what happened." Her voice trembled as she recounted her humiliation. The anger she felt rippled through the phone, changing the tenor of his response. Serafina knew that tone well. It was his business voice, the one that understood the gravity of power. After a brief silence, he assured her, "I'll take care of it." Meanwhile, back at the airline's headquarters, executives fidgeted under the weight of Serafina's father's influence. Carla, oblivious to the storm gathering above her, smiled smugly at her colleagues as they exchanged knowing glances. But within moments, her demeanor shifted, her phone buzzed, and a chilling message was delivered. The entire crew had been terminated. The realization struck like a thunderclap, leaving her breathless. "They can't do this," she gasped, her panic mounting in the echoing emptiness of the hall. Serafina stood outside her new gallery, the Gander Project, a palette of colors promising representation and resilience. She took a deep breath, the sweetness of vindication washing over her. Here she could create. Here, her voice mattered. As she moved forward, she remembered. Justice wasn't about revenge, it was about transformation. She glanced back, envisioning what had transpired, Carla's world unraveling, while her own took shape brilliantly in the fading light. A sense of satisfaction bloomed in her chest, quiet yet unwavering, a triumph she could share with others who felt unseen. In that moment, she felt not just a survivor, but a creator of change. As I sit here reflecting on that chaotic day, I can't help but feel a bittersweet mix of feelings. The confrontation with Carla was intense, and the humiliation of being forcibly removed from the plane still lingers in my memory. Yet from that darkness emerged a strength I never knew I possessed. My father's swift response turned a moment of injustice into a catalyst for change, not just in my life, but for others like me. The whole experience made me realize how often we allow power dynamics to dictate our worth. I opened the Gander Project not just as an outlet for my art, but as a sanctuary for those overlooked and belittled. It's a constant reminder that our voices matter and that we can rise from the ashes of humiliation. I ask you, have you ever had someone treat you like that? How did it shape your journey? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's start a conversation about standing up against injustice and supporting one another in our struggles. Together, we can turn pain into purpose.